What is going on, traders? Welcome back to the Traveling Trader. Happy Monday to you. Hope you guys are doing well. If this is the first time on the channel and you like what you see, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let's take a look at Bitcoin's price and see what is going on as a result of the BAKKT launch. BAKKT, as you may know or may not know, was actually released last night because futures on the ICE exchange actually start trading on Sunday night and not Monday morning when the bell opens for the traditional market. So taking a look, we see a whopping 54 Bitcoins traded so far since the opening of BAKKT. Now, I will say that this completely pummels the SolidX Bitcoin ETF that we saw earlier, which before VanEck dropped the Bitcoin ETF, I think they did a total of 4 Bitcoin. So in comparison, BAKKT already has more than 10 times the volume of that VanEck Bitcoin ETF, but still not very impressive. And that is actually the reason, or one of the reasons, why the market isn't really reacting to this. So just the fact that BAKKT was launched, right? That news, I think, was already priced in to a certain degree. And so when it did launch, it didn't really cause a wave of volume. Obviously, this is the first day, so we need to take it easy and be understanding with regards to the volume here. You know, this is obviously better than what the VanEck Bitcoin ETF did, but traders are getting more savvy. They're realizing that without, just launching something isn't really going to be of impact to Bitcoin's price and isn't really a fundamental game changer, right? We need to see regular volume on BAKKT for it to actually have an impact on Bitcoin's price. So I think the good news is that it's out of the way, right? And it's already priced in. So now you can look at Bitcoin from a purely technical perspective because there aren't really many fundamentals left besides the upcoming halving next year, which, if you look at the previous 2 halvings, you'll see Bitcoin's price gradually rising thereafter. So, but looking at Bitcoin's chart, you'll see that it is indeed forming a symmetrical triangle, right? We have a series of higher lows and lower highs, and so they're converging together. Now, we did have a pretty successful long that we played last night. If we take a look at the intraday charts on the 1 hour, there's this the support of this symmetrical triangle right now is around 9,700. So I placed a long on the support at around 9,700, and we are now up 20% on that play. If you want access to the trade alerts, link is in the description. Now, I did send out how I was playing Bitcoin, or how there are multiple possibilities, right, for what you could do here. You can either wait for a breakout of the triangle past 10.9K, right, a breakout of this, a positive breakout. You'd obviously be leaving some money on the table, but you're exchanging that for less risk, right? You could long the support level just below 9.7K, which is what I did, and set a tight stop limit at around 9.4K. I already shared this with the group, so I don't mind sharing it with you guys, but have limit buy orders waiting at 9,500 and 9,200. I've talked about this before. You can have limit buy orders waiting at critical support levels just in case they're hit when you're sleeping or there's a long wick that comes down. You're able to snatch up some of these discounted price levels, right? And the last option is not do anything until Bitcoin establishes a new trend out of this consolidation period. So the triangle, no matter what you're talking about, whether it's ascending, descending, symmetrical, these are all continuation patterns, right? So Bitcoin is waiting to continue a trend from here, or have a shift in trend. So you can be a patient trader and just wait until this pattern plays out and Bitcoin shows you the pattern that it's going to form next. If we do see a breakdown of this, then we'll have a new trend and we'll start looking for trying to establish support levels below the triangle. If we break upwards, we'll try to establish resistance levels or extension levels beyond the triangle. Again, we're not fortune tellers, right? A lot of people on YouTube and Twitter, they just want to be right. There's no value or merit in being right. There's a value in how you react to what the market is doing and whether you already have a prepared plan based on several possibilities of those moves, right? So you do have to have a bearish and a bullish scenario, multiple resistance levels, multiple support levels, and a plan for how you're going to attack it. So on that long that we longed at 9,700, I did set a trailing stop, which I haven't checked yet, but I'm now looking at the price action. I'm assuming it hit because we went all the way up to 9,900 and I set a trailing stop limit of minus $50. So if it fell at any point after establishing a high, it falls by $50, it will initiate a market sell order. So just looking at Bitcoin being at 98.27 now, I'm assuming that it hit. I'll check it after this video. But yeah, those are the different ways you can play Bitcoin. And now that BAKKT is launched, again, it hasn't had, just the launch itself hasn't really had any impact on the price itself. And as a matter of fact, if it continues in this very low volume range here, it could have a negative impact. Who knows? But either way, we're looking to see how this triangle breaks out, whether it breaks to the upside eventually or to the downside. Personally, I think we'll see a downside break to at least 91, 9200. Now, when you are forming a triangle like this that has a positive pull, right? It's coming from an uptrend, especially you have the bullish pattern here with this Adam and Eve or this rounding bottom, right? You tend to lean towards an upside break to continue the pattern, the bullish behavior that it has shown you for this entire year, right? Even bulls get exhausted. So that's why you have continuation patterns, because they get exhausted of pumping the price up. But the reason that I think it might be going down imminently, at least to the 91, 9200 level, is because one of the reasons is because of this death cross you see here between the 50 and the 200 and the 100. This is a mini death cross, right? So there's a 100 MA, which is this yellow, the 50 MA, which is the orange, and now the 50 MA has actually crossed beneath the 100, and that might continue some downside action, some downside price action on Bitcoin's price. And if you take a look at the weekly, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, but if you take a look at the weekly, you'll see that there is a 21 EMA. Right now, it currently sits, if we take an exact reading, it's at $93.45, $9,345. So that actually would not be out of the realm of possibility. It's very plausible that we'll at least see a touch of this 21 EMA at around 9,300 before any sort of upside price action. So a breakdown, I think, is more imminent here, especially due to the fact that this volume has just been heavily declining. But I do think that we're going to see a big move eventually. Whether that move is to the upside or the downside is anybody's guess. It really depends on how Bitcoin reacts to that 91, 9200 level. The critical support right now is at around 9,100, which we saw back in July 17th and around July 28th. That is the critical support. If we fall below that, then expect a major move downwards, potentially even past the 21 weekly EMA and potentially to this 200 moving average here on the daily. This 200 SMA is currently set at around 8260 right now. There's nothing wrong with being patient. Don't let anybody shame you into it. You don't always have to be making moves. I know that we did initiate a successful leveraged long here, but you don't have to be making moves. If you don't know how to use leverage or you're not comfortable taking the risk that's associated with leverage, you don't have to. Cash is also a position. Staying on the side is also a position. So don't let anybody shame you into making moves that you wouldn't otherwise make, right? You can sit in cash and wait to see how this triangle plays out. Again, if you want access to the trade alerts where I send out all these levels and all the plays that I'm making, link is in the description. All right, let us move on to the traditional markets. I bet you didn't know that we did traditional markets here. Well, if this is your first time, you might not know, but looking at the Dow, we're up 0.1%, same as the S&P, same as NASDAQ roughly, right? Not much changed in those markets. There does seem to be a looming fear that a recession is coming. Nobody can tell you when, whether it's next month or next year, but based on a certain number of indicators, there does seem to be, and I've gone over this in previous videos, but obviously the inverted yield curve, the slowing economy in Europe, Germany specifically, the China trade war, the fact that the Fed is flirting with the possibility of negative interest rates, the fact that we're already in an earnings recession. There's just a lot of fear and a lot of indicators that have been picked up from the last few recessions, right? And the fact that the markets are flirting with all-time highs while all this is going on is definitely a very tenuous position, at least from the perspective of traders. I did do a video on how I would play a potential recession, what stocks I would get into, what stocks I would deleverage my positions from, what commodities I'm buying, etc. Check that video out. Also, a couple of stock trade alerts that we had from last week that were successful. JNUG, this is the Junior Gold Miners Index. If you follow the trade alerts, you'll know that I'm bullish on certain precious metals and ETFs related to precious metals, especially actually at critical support points. We bought JNUG at around the support level of the 100 moving average. We're now up almost 12% on JNUG. Disney looks like it's at a critical support level, so I'll be sending out alerts for this. We're always playing crude oil, right? There's a very lucrative swing on this 3x leverage crude oil ETF. We're definitely up on gold after buying back at support as well. So there's a lot of good plays in the markets, regardless of whether there is an impending recession or not. You just might have to shift your portfolio allocation, what kind of stocks you invest in, maybe take a look at the commodities market more than you would have had to before. There's just a lot of different ways to play it. Anyway, check out that video that I referenced earlier and sign up if you want access to the trade alerts. If you need one-on-one help with your technical analysis or would like to talk about trading strategy or really anything trading related on a one-on-one basis with me, that same link is also in the description. I take a maximum of 10 people per month, and we do have a couple of spots opening up for October. So take advantage of that and take your trading to the next level. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Leave a thumbs up. Stay safe out there, traders. Peace.